Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a very special celebration of America's Hidden Helpers, the millions of children across America dedicating their young lives to assisting in the care of our wounded, ill, and injured service members and their veterans. My name is Steve Schwab, and I'm the CEO of the Elizabeth Dole Foundation, and it is an extraordinary honor to be invited to stand on this stage and recognize the service of these incredible young Americans. And I'm very glad you took your seats. Tomorrow on Veterans Day, we salute the American heroes who served our country with duty and honor. Today, we recognize the hidden heroes and their hidden helpers whose service begins when their veteran returns home. The Dole Foundation was proud, so proud, Dr. Biden, to stand with you this year as you rolled out Joining Forces 2.0, a movement with a mission to bring all sectors of society together with our government partners to support our veterans and our military families. Today, we stand with you once again, joining forces with this administration to introduce America to our hidden helpers and announce a series of incredible commitments to make a substantial impact in their lives. This is what joining forces is all about. So Dr. Biden, we thank you for your leadership and for your invitation to join you at the White House today. Secretary Austin, Secretary McDonough, thank you for holding caregivers and their families among your highest priorities. We are honored and proud to be working with you and your teams in rolling out new levels of support for our nation's military families today. Last year, we commissioned research experts at Mathematica to conduct the first ever study of military caregiver kids. We knew it was time for us to better understand the implications of the long caregiving journey on children inside those families. And the findings, which we're also releasing today, should not only concern our nation, they should inspire us to act and act immediately. Thanks to our research, we now know that approximately 2.3 million children under the age of 18 live with a disabled veteran. The study tells us that these children in these homes experience high levels of disruption, resulting in elevated levels of distress. This can cause severe emotional impact and impact their psychological development. This is further strained by the fact that a caregiver's attention to their children's needs is often crowded out by the overwhelming needs of their veteran. These kids also have difficulty expressing their complicated emotions and at times have trouble learning in school. The study also found that young people helping as caregivers suffer from social isolation and health problems related to stress, burnout, and fatigue. I've been fortunate enough to meet some of these hidden helpers personally, as you will today, and I can tell you that these negative outcomes are not the only similarities they share with their moms and dads. They exhibit extraordinary love and compassion. They are patient and understanding. Their experiences mold them in ways such as giving them empathy for those with different physical abilities, kindness for those who need it most, and a willingness, this is most important, a willingness to help others. Anticipating that the research would be as concerning as it is, we partnered with Wounded Warrior Project to build a strong and diverse coalition. Could I ask our coalition members to raise their hands? Let's hear it for our coalition members. So many friends in the room. That coalition is going to address the gaps in services and support for our hidden helpers on day one, and that day one is today. I'm so proud to co-chair this coalition with Mike Linnington, CEO of Wounded Warrior Project. We're now 60 organizations strong due to our great work with Mike and his team, and we're ready to deliver support to the millions of military and veteran families across America. It is now my pleasure to introduce an exceptional leader and a steadfast advocate for our wounded warriors and their families, my friend, Mike Linnington.
Thank you, Steve. It's great to see everyone. And let me begin by saying how proud I am to serve as co-chair of the Hidden Helpers Coalition as we lead our nation in responding to this important study that Steve just spoke about. One that should indeed be a warning and a call to action for all of us who depend on the service, sacrifice, strength, and resilience of our military men and women in uniform and their families. Among the distinguished leaders I'm honored to share the stage with, Dr. Biden, Secretary Austin, Secretary McDonough, I must also recognize and thank the incomparable Senator Elizabeth Dole. Senator Dole is the epitome of a servant leader and a role model for all of us. 10 years ago, Senator Dole made a pledge to military and veteran caregivers at Walter Reed, where she was caring for her husband, that she would tell the nation their stories of service and sacrifice and ensure our caregivers did not endure their caregiving journey alone. Today is an extension of the movement Senator Dole has led for the last decade. Thank you, Senator. Ladies and gentlemen, the study we bring to you today asks a critically important question. How have the wounds of our warriors and the caregiving responsibilities of their families affected the youngest of our military and veteran family members, our children, who reside in the home and help care for a wounded warrior? Our nation's military has answered the call to serve for nearly 2.5 centuries, yet we've never asked that question, dove deeply into it, despite it being one of the greatest worries keeping so many of our military caregivers awake at night. Children of our nation's military and veteran families are valued assets to their parents, their brothers and sisters, and the communities in which they live. Whether children or siblings, these hidden helpers have a meaningful role in helping care for their wounded veteran family member. And it is incumbent on us now that we do whatever we can do to support them and care for them as well. The research from this report will not only provide us with the reasons we must act, but it will also serve as our guide to actions in the future. According to the research, we must focus our efforts in 4 main areas. First, developing interventions that focus on peer support, mental health, and age-appropriate developmental opportunities. Second, funding, promoting, and creating mechanisms of support for the entire family members, the entire family unit, the entire military and veteran families. Third, reduce any lingering barriers that our military and veteran families still encounter while trying to access care, especially in their communities. And finally, amplifying awareness and understanding of the sacrifices made by our wounded warriors and the toll taken on the family caregivers. I am grateful, as Steve said, to the more than 60 organizations and leaders who have already joined our coalition to address these priorities. Together, we will create a network of support for these young helpers as they continue to navigate the responsibilities and effects of the last 20 years at war. But there is so much more work for us to do. That's why today I am announcing that Wounded Warrior Project is increasing our commitment to support the research and initiatives of this coalition through a new $1.5 million dedicated fund. Through this investment, we will partner with coalition members to ensure that a network of support, resources, care, programs, and services for the youngest caregivers of America's wounded warriors is available and, as importantly, easily accessible. Thank you again, Senator Dole and Steve, for leading this important charge. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce the 11th Secretary of Veterans Affairs, the Honorable Dennis McDonough. Secretary McDonough is no stranger to this building, having previously served our nation as the White House Chief of Staff under President Obama, where he worked across the cabinet to carry out the president's priorities and strengthen the operations of the federal government. Prior to that role, Secretary McDonough served as Deputy National Security Advisor for Strategic Communications and chaired the National Security Council's Deputies Committee. Throughout his service in the White House, Secretary McDonough helped lead the administration's work on behalf of military families and veterans. And I'm pleased to say he continues to do that great work today as our nation's current Secretary of the Department of Veterans Affairs. Mr. Secretary, thanks for being here, and thanks for caring as you do for our nation's veterans and their families.
Thank you, Steve and Mike, for your leadership, not only at the Elizabeth Dole Foundation at the Wounded Warrior Project, but also in leading this remarkable Hidden Helpers Coalition. And to our audience here in person and those virtually, leaders from the government, the private sector, our military and veteran nonprofit community, thank you for being here. On behalf of President Biden, the amazing Dr. Jill Biden, and the entire Biden-Harris administration, a team deeply committed, as the military family in this building is committed, to ensuring that military families have what they need to thrive. Welcome, everyone. November is National Family Caregivers Month, a month to reach out to those who provide care for their family members, friends, and neighbors in need, to honor and to thank them. November is also National Veterans and Military Families Month, when we show our appreciation to spouses, partners, children, caregivers, and survivors of our service members and veterans for their selfless sacrifice on behalf of the nation. And tomorrow, of course, is Veterans Day, a day when America pauses to remember and recognize those men and women who fought our nation's wars and defended us in periods of restless peace. This is the time to recommit ourselves to those we're privileged, honored to serve, to renew our obligations to veterans and their families, survivors, and caregivers who make their own sacrifices, serving quietly, too often without fanfare or celebration. President Biden reminds us our one truly sacred obligation is to prepare and equip troops when we send them into harm's way, and to care for them and their families when they return home. And we know that when a veteran needs help, it's the whole family that is helping. Even the youngest, beautiful children. So it's only appropriate that we celebrate those children. A story about a caregiver and a veteran and his caregiver bears repeating. He's a quadruple amputee. Needs his wife's help for most everything, from brushing his teeth to getting dressed to putting on his prosthetics. People say to him all the time, "Thank you for your service." And he appreciates it deeply. But nobody ever thanks his wife, his caregiver, for the service she's given to this country by taking care of him. That's wrong. It gets to the very heart of why we're here and why Dr. Biden demands we do what we do. To honor and thank caregivers and their children for their service to this country. Because support of caregivers improves outcomes not only for the caregivers, but also for veterans. That's why at VA, we're building a family coordinator program where veterans and caregivers get help for their whole family. Better connect to resources at VA and in their communities. Let's meet one of those great caregivers. Miss Sylvia Lopez Pavon, hailing from, you may know this place, Dover, in the great state of Delaware. Sylvia is the proud caregiver of her husband, Alex, a rightly proud veteran who served around the world for 15 years in the Army and the Army Reserves. Alex, welcome and happy Veterans Day to you. Sylvia recalls 2 moments marking the beginning of her caregiver journey. The first was when she discovered there's a name for the roles she was playing. When she learned she's a caregiver, she just said in the room, this is the blue room. This is the best job for me, she said. It's a hard job, but it's the best job for me. The second came very shortly after, when she learned that as a caregiver, she's not alone. That there's a remarkable network of caregivers that's in this room to support her and that she can support. Understanding she's a caregiver, and knowing she's not alone, she said, was a great feeling. One that's informed her service as a caregiver ever since. Today, Sylvia serves other caregivers and teaches them what she's learned. And she talks about her own experience as a caregiver, which she sees not as something she must do, but as an act of love. Let's welcome that remarkable caregiver, Miss Sylvia Lopez. You're awesome.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. To you, Dr. Biden and Secretary Austin, thank you for supporting up for our military caregiver kids. My husband, Alex Pavon, was a mortuary affairs specialist at the Army. The chemicals he used to tend to the remains of the fellow service left him with chronic skin conditions. The many times he was sent to recover the fallings, surrounded by the worst scenes of war, left him with traumatic brain injury, vertigo, and a terrible PTSD. Alex's wounds are so severe that he could not be able to live without me as his caregiver. And the emotions and responsibilities of being his caregiver are so hard that I am certain I could not survive them without the help of our 5 children. Each of our kids help in their own way. Our oldest, Annie and Alexis, take their dad to doctor's appointments. Our 16-year-old Paula keep the youngest one occupied when their dad is struggling emotionally. My 12-year-old Siani, who is here with me today, is our family leader nurse. And a 7-year-old Saribet knows the secret of soothing her dad's moods. Our children are wonderful, and they help me so much, but no child is prepared to handle these responsibilities. All my children have attended therapy to cope with their emotions. They have struggled socially because I cannot leave my husband's side, and he cannot go to birthday parties, malls, or crowded movie theaters. And some of Alex's flashbacks are so violent that every kid has a place in the house to hide. As a mother, I often feel guilty and helpless. I see the struggle of our children, but I cannot get them the attention they need because I also have a husband whose life depends on my care. That is why I am so grateful for all of the leaders with us today and the more than 60 members of the Heating Helper Coalition, particularly Esposas Militares Hispanas, which has committed to translate the coalition material. That is such a relief to all of us who have struggled to navigate caregiving in our second language. Most of all, I have to thank Senator Elizabeth Dole. Senator, you first came to the rescue of your fellow caregiver 10 years ago. Now you are coming to the rescue to our children. That means the world to every caregiver parent out here. You are a hero to all of us. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Senator Elizabeth Dole.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Sylvia, for sharing your story and for those very kind words. Please give your children a big hug from all of us. Ladies and gentlemen and military kids, I'm delighted to be with all of you today. Thank you, Dr. Biden, for hosting this event and for partnering with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation and our incredible coalition to pursue a new national mission, a mission to provide comprehensive support for millions of military caregiver kids, our nation's hidden helpers. Dr. Biden, I know you have personally felt the emotional weight carried by our military families, and as a national leader, you have united our country around those who serve through joining forces. I was so grateful to see you revive this extraordinary program as First Lady, and I know that our military community appreciates it too. Thank you so much. Yes. Secretary Austin, Secretary McDonough, thank you for helping us ensure that the days of overlooking the caregivers of those who serve are forever behind us. In 2014, I stood here with Dr. Biden and then First Lady Michelle Obama to come together around the crisis facing our military caregivers. We came with a message to awaken the nation. If America did not start supporting our military caregivers, we risk losing the most valuable person in the life of every wounded warrior. We risk losing them to fatigue, illness, to frustrations with red tape and bureaucracy, to debt, to burnout, to overwhelming stress. With a firm belief that America would respond to the call, our foundation set out to systematically change the way our nation supports military caregivers, and we have done just that. Through the largest expansion of military caregiver benefits in history, countless new support programs and direct services, through a growing network of 175 hidden heroes cities and counties, an emergency respite care fund, and a critical financial support program, and through a nationwide training program to teach VA professionals how to incorporate caregivers into veterans' healthcare teams from day one. There is much more work to do. Yet in the 10 years since our founding, we've transformed the military caregiver experience in America. And today, we are committing ourselves to making that same transformative change for their children. Thanks to our foundation's Hidden Helpers Coalition, which we are grateful to be co-chairing with Mike Linnington and the incredible team at Wounded Warrior Project, we came here this afternoon with commitments in hand, ready to make a substantial difference in the lives of America's 2.3 million military caregiver kids. These commitments start with the healthcare leaders from Tri-West, Magellan Federal, Humana Military, and Nemours Children's Health. Together, they will serve as the catalyst for creating a new national model of support for caregiver kids within medical institutions. For the first time, providers will have the tools they need to support and care for our hidden helpers. Thank you, David McIntyre from Tri-West and Larry Moss from Nemours for leading the way. Yes. My thanks also to Mike Linnington and our friends at Wounded Warrior Project for making a generous $1.5 million investment in our coalition's work. Isn't that great? Yes. Cerner has also pledged funding toward programs making healthcare environments more responsive to caregiver kids. David Feinberg, Travis Dalton, and Mike, thank you for making these extraordinary funding commitments. Thanks to the visionary leadership of Sherwin Sheik, CareLinks will extend their support of the respite relief program led by our foundation and the VA. This fund offers free professional care services, much to the relief of overloaded caregivers. We also have an unprecedented number of new programs being launched. I'd like to especially thank the American Red Cross, Camp Corral, Kids Rank, United Through Reading, our military kids, and Psych Armor. And helping us share the news of these incredible programs are our partners at Amazon Military Affairs, Rally Point, and the National Association of Counties. These commitments will make a real difference in the lives of our caregiver kids. We know that because of the research we now have in hand and because of the stories we've heard from caregiver kids. But these commitments are only the beginning. We need the rest of the nation to join us. Dr. Biden, thank you again for your leadership and your partnership. You and President Biden have been wonderful friends to Bob and to me, just as you are to all America's military families. And to every American watching at home, please remember that the hidden helpers we're asking you to support are not grown-ups who chose to serve their nation. They are children, kids, whose young lives have been suddenly interrupted and forever changed. Their innocence is lost as they watch their parent care for the types of wounds that only come from war. Their precious time with mom or dad is cut short. They miss out on their childhood, trading in the milestones and special moments to help with caregiving. Let's come to the rescue of these hidden helpers. Let's relieve them of their mountains of stress and worry. Let's do everything we can to revive their childhood, restore their innocence, and ensure they always have a place to turn to when they need it. This is the next generation of our nation's work supporting those families who have borne the battle. May God bless the millions of hidden helpers across our nation. And may God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much. Thank you. It is now my great pleasure to introduce a distinguished leader who has spent his life loyally serving our nation. During his 41-year career in the United States Army, he rose to the highest ranks, receiving decorations for his exceptional courage, leading our service members in combat. I've been grateful to see him extend the department's full support to our service members, their families, and their caregivers as our 28th Secretary of Defense. Please welcome Secretary Lloyd Austin.
Well, Senator Dole, thank you for those kind words. During my time in the Army, I served a few tours at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and I got to see the support that you and your husband gave to our military and veteran communities. Let me thank you both for 2 extraordinary lifetimes of service. Let me also offer my huge thanks to Steve Schwab and Mike Linnington for leading the Hidden Helpers Coalition. And it's great to be here with my good friend, Secretary Dennis McDonough. I'm grateful for his partnership as we work together to make sure that we do right by our outstanding veterans. And Dennis and I have worked together on a number of issues, and we're working hard to improve the partnership between our 2 organizations because the Biden administration is squarely focused on supporting our troops, our veterans, and their families. So let me thank the President and Dr. Biden for their outstanding leadership. It's absolutely great to be here with our First Lady. The Bidens are a strong military family, and it shows through your deep commitment to this community. So thank you very much. Do we have any Marine families in the audience today? Show of hands. Okay. Today is the 246th birthday of the Marine Corps, so happy birthday. I have to admit, though, you don't look a day over 245. But this day reminds us of the sacrifices that Marines and sailors and all of our men and women in uniform make to defend this nation. And our military families serve every bit as much as our service members do. We often talk about the hardships, the frequent moves, the sleepless nights, and the stress. But their contributions run even deeper than that. Our military families make us a stronger, a healthier, and a more ready force. So we have to make sure that our phenomenal military families can not only survive the hard times, but they can actually thrive throughout their service. You know, one of my top priorities is making sure that they have world-class health care. And that means treating all wounds, those that we can see and those that we can't. And you've heard me say this before, and I'll say it again. Mental health is health, period. And so we've all got to continue to break down the stigmas that can prevent people from reaching out for help that they need and deserve. And that's especially true for children in the military and veteran caregiving homes. You know, we got to get this right, and we have to do it together. And that includes the Department of Defense and the VA. It includes state and local agencies. And it also includes nonprofit and public-private partnerships like the one that Senator Dole just announced. Now, I want to say a few words to the kids here today. We know that you sometimes worry about your mom and dad. We know how much you miss them when they're not at home. And we know that you take on bigger responsibilities for your family. So the grown-ups in the room today are going to be there to support you, because your love and your strength helps keep our country strong. And because when a parent in uniform thinks about why they need to work so hard to keep our country safe, it's your face that they see. And now I have the pleasure of introducing two of these hidden helpers. Gabby Rodriguez is 9 years old and her sister Ava is 6. Their dad, Jorge Rodriguez, served as a Fleet Marine corpsman. And during a deployment to Iraq, 2 IEDs left him with a hearing loss and a traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress. You know, that's a lot to handle. And when he got back home, it was hard for him to remember routine tasks, like when to report to work or when to eat. But Gabby and Ava have stepped up, and they help their mom, Jessica, take care of him. They remind their dad to eat, and they pitch in on countless household tasks. And Gabby rides horses through a therapeutic program that helps veteran caregivers and kids like her, because, as we said before, it can be pretty stressful to have to grow up faster than most. Thanks to these brave hidden helpers, they're coping with the challenges, the frustrations, and the joys of healing as a family. And they're all walking the road together. And the strength and courage of the Rodriguez family are all inspiring to all of us. So girls, thank you for looking out for your dad and your family. We can't wait to hear from you. So everyone, please join me in welcoming Gabby and Ava to the stage.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you, Dr. Biden, Secretary McDonough, and Senator Dole. My sister Ava and I are so excited to be here and a little nervous. But we knew we needed to be brave and stand on this stage to let every caregiver kid know that they are not alone. So many kids feel lonely because they think they're the only ones who have an injured parent and a caregiver parent. When I was little, our dad spent so much time at Shepherd's Center Hospital because of his brain injury that I got used to talking to other children who had moms and dads in the hospital. When we finally brought my dad home, I would still go to the playground and ask other kids, "Was your dad in the military? Does he have a boo-boo on his brain?" It was 3 long years when I went to a veteran family retreat for military kids that I finally made my first friend who answered yes to both of those questions. And it was a huge moment for me. So I want every other caregiver kid out there to know that there are millions of us. You are not alone. Being a caregiver kid can be tough, but we learn ways to help. My job is to give love and to bring light to my dad's day. I cook pancakes on Sundays, and my sister likes to ask, "How's the weather?" which is code for asking about his mood. When my dad has seizures, I know how to use his phone to call for help. Though I don't really like seeing my dad have seizures. I still have nightmares about the first time he had one. I need to sleep close to my parents on those nights. Dr. Biden, it is incredible what you are doing here today. Thank you for showing hidden helpers like me and Ava that we are not alone. And I am very honored to be introducing you. I love that you are both First Lady and an English teacher. Reading with my dad is one of my favorite things to do. We read books for fun and also ones that teach me about his injuries. So thank you for being First Lady and for teaching people how to read and write. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce you to the First Lady of the United States, Dr. Jill Biden.
Thank you, Gabby. My gosh, you did such a beautiful job. Beautiful job. Can we give her another round of applause? And Ava, thank you for standing with your sister today. And you have Whoopi with you, right? Whoopi helped a little bit. You both make your family so proud. And Sylvia, thank you for sharing your story with us. Secretaries Austin and McDonough, thank you for your leadership. I know that you both chose to be here today because you understand that the families serve alongside their members and veterans, and because you are committed to honoring that sacrifice. So thank you. In 2009, with 2 wars raging, I visited Walter Reed Hospital whenever I could. You know, I would sit near the beds of the wounded warriors, usually with a spouse nearby, and listen to their stories of courage and sacrifice. And over time, I built relationships with those families. And my heart went out to the spouses who cared for them. So often, young moms, bouncing babies on their hips. And back then, I marveled at how they seemed to carry their families on will and grit alone, seamlessly moving between feeding an infant and making complex decisions on their husband's treatment. But today, at my very first in-person White House East Room event, I'm thinking about the children in those rooms. I think about how they've grown up, like Gabby and Ava, helping their dad cope with an injury that they can't see. Like Sylvia's daughter, Ziani, who helps her dad, who keeps track of his medications and doctor's appointments. Like Noah, who learned how to get his dad through a severe seizure if his mom wasn't at home. Like Chris, who worried so deeply about his father's well-being that he began to experience a similar trauma. Or like Mason, who became the family entertainer, always ready with a joke or a story to put a smile on his parents' face when things seemed hopeless. These 6 kids in our front row represent more than 2 million hidden helpers across the country who were growing up in the shadow of 20 years of war. Some are old enough to be going to college or pursuing careers, and some are young enough that you still don't understand what makes your family unique. But all of you are serving and sacrificing in your own way. And it's time that we, as a nation, recognize you and commit to giving you the support that you all deserve. Because from a young age, hidden helpers learn the costs of war close up. You see how difficult the road to recovery can be. You know the reality of changing bandages or long stays in hospital rooms. You get tired of having to be brave. And there's no way to, keep you from feeling sad sometimes. So no, we can't shield our caregiver kids from the reality of war or its aftermath, but we can recognize the costs that they last long after our troops come home, and that injuries can be felt throughout generations. We can celebrate caregivers' kids' strength and resilience. We can and we must give our military and veteran caregiving families everything they need to care for their wounded warrior with compassion, dignity, and love. We must bring hidden helper service out of the shadows. Let their light shine bright and give them the support that they need to survive. And that's why I am so grateful for the groundbreaking study that the Elizabeth Dole Foundation is releasing today on the experiences and needs of caregiving children across the country. Senator Dole, for 7 years, it's been an honor to stand with you and now to join the Elizabeth Dole Foundation as a member of the Hidden Helpers Coalition. Thanks to your work and the commitment of 60, I want to say that, 60 public and private organizations like the Rosalind Carter Institute for Caregivers, Sesame Street, MSEC, and Psych Armor, we have a powerful coalition ready to step up. And through joining forces, my White House initiative that supports our military and veteran families, caregivers, and survivors, we launched the first ever interagency working group focused on the needs of children in caregiving homes. And the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs has committed to connecting caregiving families to resources in their communities. Supporting our caregivers is critical to our national security. Our troops and their families need to know that if they ever face injuries, illnesses, or wounds, we will have your back. Gabby and Ava, Ziani, Noah, Chris, and Mason, today is all about you. We're here to celebrate you, your bravery, your kindness, your compassion, and hard work. We're here to thank you for everything you do to help out at home, all the extra chores that you take on, and the times that you watch your brothers and your sisters. We know that you need a break sometimes, and that you need to be around kids and teachers who understand what you're going through without needing to explain it. We're here to honor the sacrifices that you've all made, the time that you've missed with friends, or moments maybe you feel just a little lonely because you feel like your family is different. And most of all, we're here to tell you that you're not hidden anymore. You're not alone. Don't forget that. The president and I see you. The secretaries, Senator Dole, your military, and all of our partners here, we see you. And we see the millions of kids out there who are just like you. But not only do we see you, we stand with you. And we are going to work to live up to the example of courage and duty that you all set every day. Thank you, all of you. And God bless your families. And now I've heard that the Marines aren't the only birthday that we're going to celebrate, because Mason is turning 7 tomorrow. So Mason, can you stand up? Come on, Mason. Hey, dear Mace. Birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel. And while you're at it, please leave us a comment. Thank you for watching.